Caesar, my God, are countless, and exceedingly plenteous are your compassions. All the raindrops are counted by you, and the sand of the sea is before your eyes. How much more are they?
Tomorrow will be 1 month since I recorded the first of these Coronadiaries, so I'm doing a two-parter today and tomorrow on a subject that's very close to my heart, and that subject is truth. We're discovering that truth really matters in a crisis. We're discovering during this pandemic that we have to respect reality. You could go along in your life pretending that there's no virus and that there's no pandemic, but sooner or later reality is going to bite, and there's no escaping from that. So it's really important to understand that if you don't live in reality, if you don't live in truth, all that you have left is illusion, and illusion is not real. Now, a really extreme case of that is, say, the schizophrenic patient who has delusions, beliefs about the world that are just not real, or they may even have hallucinations where they see or hear things that aren't really out there. But all of us have a kind of a milder version of that to some extent, because we often see the world the way that we want it to be, which is fine, and usually we get along quite well, until a crisis comes along, and it shakes that illusory world, and we discover the harsh reality. As Christians, we should care about truth for those kinds of reasons, but we also have another very important reason to care about truth. We should care about truth for its own sake, because the God that we love is the truth. In the anaphora of the Coptic liturgy of St. Basil, we speak of God as being the being, and you often find in the text that being is written with capital letters, all capital letters. And that harks back to Moses at the burning bush, when he asked God, "Who shall I say is sending me?" And God says to him, "Tell them, I am has sent you." God is reality. God is being. And Jesus, in the New Testament, in John chapter 8, he claims that name also for himself. He says to the Jews, before Abraham was, "I am." And he's claiming to be that essence of being, or that foundational ground of being that God claimed when he spoke to Moses. And Jesus goes on and calls himself the truth in many other verses. For example, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." So to follow Jesus is to live in truth, to make truth a very high priority. And of course, after he ascends into heaven, he sends the Holy Spirit, and he calls the Holy Spirit the Spirit of truth. And that's why the Holy Spirit is the comforter. The comfort that we derive from the Holy Spirit, with which he fills us, is a comfort based on reality. It's not the kind of comfort that we sometimes get from other people, where they tell us there, everything will be okay, and they don't really know if that's the truth or not. But the comfort we get from the Holy Spirit is firmly grounded in reality, in truth. So we really should care about truth, both as Christians, but even just as human beings living in this world. So how can we live in truth? As a society, we need to develop habits where we care about the truth. One way we do that is by respecting expertise. So we all value and respect the expertise of our doctors. In fact, we do so much that we place our very lives in their hands, really. And we trust that they know what they're doing because they've studied, because they've worked in the area, because they've dealt with so many patients in the past. And we know that they are closer to the truth of our medical conditions than we are. And of course, we work together. The patient and the doctor work together. But the knowledge, the expertise of the doctor is very, very important. That is a reality. The patient who says, "I'm not going to listen to my doctor, I know much better," is much more likely to end up in hospital or possibly, God forbid, even dead. But expertise isn't just limited to the medical field. There are lots of other kinds of experts. One controversial area, for example, nowadays has been climate science, and people challenge what the scientists are saying, and they say, oh, but they disagree among themselves, and so on. And look, that's true. Experts aren't perfect. They don't have all truth. And they can disagree with each other, and they can get things wrong. But we need to take them seriously. We need to listen to what they're saying. We need to consider why they might be saying this or might be saying that. We mustn't idolize expertise, but we must really pay attention to it and value it and learn how to use it well. And I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. That's the topic for the video for tomorrow. And the same goes in areas like theology as well. Sure, my relationship with God is something that I live, but it should be informed by experts in theology. For us, the real experts are the church fathers, and we go back to them. But not everybody has the time to read all the church fathers. So we have modern theologians who spend their lives reading the church fathers and the Bible and understanding what our faith is and who God is and what a human being is and how do we relate to God. And we should take what they say seriously. Once again, we don't idolize them. We don't say they get everything right. But we really should take what they say seriously. And finally, not just as a society, but as an individual, it takes a particular kind of individual to get at truth more effectively. And I just want to mention 3 particular characteristics of the kind of person who is more likely to end up living in truth. The first of those characteristics is courage. You need to be brave if you're searching for the truth. People won't always tell you the truth for a variety of reasons. Most of the time it's probably unwilling. They've got it wrong and they just pass on the wrong information to you. Sometimes it's on purpose, though. They actually want to mislead you for whatever nefarious purpose they might have. So you need to have the courage to be able to not necessarily simply go along with everything that everybody says to you. You need to develop what we call the virtue of discernment, how to tell truth from falsehood. And sometimes you need courage because the truth can get you into a lot of hot water. Standing up for the truth can get you into a lot of hot water. The prophets in the Old Testament, they often spoke the truth that God gave them to the Jewish people. And in a lot of cases, they ended up dying for it. The martyrs in the early centuries of Christianity and up until today, because they stand up for what they believe as the truth of Christ, often end up dying for what they stood up for. And of course, the perfect example of that is Jesus himself, who spoke perfect truth to the world and ended up being crucified for it. The second characteristic that helps you to live in truth is patience. Truth is not always that obvious. You actually have to seek it out. You have to dig for it because of the kind of the world that we live in and where there is so much darkness. You actually have to search for the light. And I think of it as being like the Shunammite in the Song of Songs in the Old Testament, the Song of Solomon, where she goes running out of her door and seeking for her beloved, and she looks here and she looks there and people get in her way, but she patiently keeps running and searching because her beloved has stolen her heart. And I think the person whose heart has been stolen by truth never gives up, but keeps patiently searching no matter how difficult it is. And the third characteristic that helps us to live in truth is humility. And this may be one of the most important of the 3. It takes humility to be able to say, I was wrong. And you see, if you never are able to say those words, then you almost certainly will not find the truth, because all of us have limits. All of us are still searching for truth. So if we cling and stick to just what we know now, and we are never willing to admit that any of that is wrong, then we will be stuck without complete truth. Iris Murdoch wrote that humility is not a peculiar habit of self-effacement. It is selfless respect for reality, and one of the most difficult and central of the virtues. To be humble is actually to truly value and respect reality, truth. So I'm going to finish off with a kind of a joke on that note. It's not really a joke, it's more of a funny story. I read on Father Stephen Freeman's blog a nice little incident when he was speaking with the late Father Thomas Hopko. And he said to him, "Father Tom, you know, the older I'm getting, the more I feel that I don't know very much." And Father Tom replied with a smile, "Well, I look forward to the day when you know nothing." But let's not get too pessimistic. Tomorrow we'll look at some of the ways that help us to really search for and find truth, with the help of a book or two, since it's Book Thursday. I look forward to truly seeing you then. God bless.
Your mercies, O my God, are countless, and exceedingly plenteous are your compassions. All the raindrops are counted by you, and the sand of the sea is before your eyes. How much more are the sins of my soul manifest before you, O my Lord? Sins that I have committed, do not remember, my Lord, and do not count my iniquity. For you have chosen the publican, and the adulteress you have saved, and the right-hand thief, my Lord, you have remembered. And I to the sinner, teach me, O my Lord, to offer repentance. For you do not desire the death of a sinner, but rather that he returns, and that his soul may live. Restore us, O God, to your salvation, and deal with us according to your goodness. For you are good and merciful. Let your compassion speedily come to us. Compassion upon us, O Lord God, our Savior, and have mercy upon us according to your great mercy. Remember those, O Christ, our Master, be among us, and proclaim and say, my peace I give to you, the peace of my Father I live with you. O King of peace, grant us your peace, establish for us your peace, and forgive us our sins. Disperse the enemies of the church, and fortify her, that she may not be shaken forever. Emmanuel, our God, is now in our midst, with the glory of his Father and the Holy Spirit. May he bless us all, and purify our heart, and heal the sicknesses of our souls and bodies. We worship you, O Christ, with your good Father and the Holy Spirit, for you have come and saved us.